My director fired me for getting pregnant, then used my license on 47 contracts. I told my company director I was pregnant on a Tuesday afternoon. The next morning, he fired me for losing focus. 6 years later, the State Engineering Board called and asked why my professional seal appeared on 47 construction contracts. One of those buildings had already begun to crack. And according to every document, I was the engineer who had approved it. My name is Emma Lawson. At 29, I was a licensed structural engineer and the youngest project director at Mercer Development Group, one of the largest construction firms in Chicago. I had spent 8 years building my career there. Grant Mercer, the company's founder and chief executive officer, liked to tell people he had discovered me. He hired me straight out of graduate school, sent me to difficult project sites, and pushed me harder than anyone else on his staff. When I passed my professional engineering exam, he opened a bottle of champagne in the conference room. "You're going to run this company's engineering division one day," he told me. I believed him. Grant wasn't my father, but for years I trusted him like a mentor. That made what happened next worse. On Tuesday afternoon, I knocked on his office door. Grant was standing beside a scale model of Lakeshore Crown, a 40-story residential development that would become the largest contract in our company's history. Vanessa Sloan, the company's general counsel, sat at the conference table reviewing documents. Grant glanced at his watch. "I have 5 minutes, Emma. I won't need that long." I placed a small ultrasound photograph on his desk. His expression changed, but he didn't smile. "What am I looking at?" "I'm pregnant." Vanessa raised her eyes from the documents. Grant stared at the photograph. "How far along?" 12 weeks. "And when were you planning to tell me?" "I'm telling you now. You've known for weeks. My doctor advised me to wait until the end of the first trimester." Grant walked toward the window. "What does this mean for Lakeshore Crown?" "It means we build a transition plan for the final months of my pregnancy. My due date is in November. The major structural packages will be completed before then. And maternity leave. 12 weeks. Grant laughed once without humor. 12 weeks. I've already prepared a coverage schedule. Ethan can handle field coordination while Maya Singh takes over the remaining calculations. Vanessa closed her folder. "You prepared a coverage schedule before informing management?" "I wanted to bring solutions, not problems." Grant turned toward me. "You're the structural lead on a $200 million development. Investors approved this project because your name was attached to it. My pregnancy doesn't invalidate my license." "No one said it did." "Then what exactly are we discussing?" Grant picked up the ultrasound photograph and slid it back across his desk. "We're discussing whether you understand your responsibilities." "I do." "Do you? Because you made a decision that affects the entire company and kept it private." "My pregnancy is not a corporate decision. It becomes one when your absence could delay a project." Vanessa spoke in the calm, sympathetic tone she used before destroying someone in a negotiation. "Emma, I'm sure Grant isn't questioning your personal choices. He's concerned about disclosure. Disclosure of private medical information. Disclosure of circumstances that could affect your availability." "I haven't missed a deadline." Grant checked his watch again. "We'll continue this tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. I picked up the ultrasound photograph. "Is this a performance meeting?" "It's a planning meeting." I left his office uneasy but not terrified. Grant was demanding. He could be controlling. But I still believed my record would protect me. That evening, I stayed late and emailed him a detailed transition proposal. I listed every project milestone, every engineer who could temporarily assume responsibility, and every inspection I could complete before maternity leave. At 7:42 p.m., Grant replied with 2 words. "Received. Thanks." The next morning, I arrived at the executive conference room at 9. Grant was already there with Vanessa and Ethan Cole, the chief operating officer. A folder sat in front of the empty chair. I looked at Ethan. "What's this?" He avoided my eyes. Grant pointed to the chair. "Sit down, Emma." I remained standing. Is this about Lakeshore Crown? It's about your future with Mercer Development. Vanessa opened the folder. Over the past several months, management has documented concerns regarding your communication judgment and commitment to leadership responsibilities. I stared at her. What concerns? She pushed 3 performance reports toward me. All 3 were dated within the previous 12 hours. One claimed I had failed to attend an investor meeting. I was inspecting the Fulton Street Foundation during that meeting. Grant approved it. Grant folded his hands. You should have arranged coverage. The inspection uncovered a concrete placement error that saved this company $800,000. Vanessa moved to the second report. This one addresses your resistance to delegating. You're firing me because I created a maternity coverage plan. Grant's voice hardened. We are terminating you because your judgment is no longer aligned with the needs of the company. My judgment changed overnight. No, our understanding of the situation changed. I looked at Ethan. You approved these reports. He spoke quietly. The company needs stable leadership on Lakeshore Crown. I am stable. No one is questioning your health, Vanessa said. You're questioning my commitment because I'm pregnant. Grant leaned forward. Be careful, Emma. No, you be careful. Yesterday, I disclosed a pregnancy. Today, you created a performance record and fired me. Vanessa slid a separation agreement across the table. The company is prepared to provide 16 weeks of severance, continued health coverage, and a neutral employment reference. In exchange for what? Confidentiality, a release of claims, and confirmation that you resigned from project leadership voluntarily. I didn't resign. You have the opportunity to leave professionally. And if I refuse, Grant answered, then you will be terminated for performance reasons, and the company will respond accordingly. If you misrepresent what occurred here, I looked at the man who had once called me the future of his company. You planned this last night. I evaluated a business risk. I'm a person, Grant. You're an employee. I didn't sign the agreement. Security collected my badge phone and company laptop before escorting me from the building. By noon, Vanessa had emailed senior staff saying I had been dismissed after an extended period of performance concerns. By the end of the day, 2 clients had heard I was emotionally unstable. Within a week, 3 engineering firms canceled interviews with me. One recruiter finally told me the truth. Mercer Development is suggesting you concealed serious project information. What information, they won't say. Because there wasn't any. I believe you, Emma. But Grant has influence. I filed a pregnancy discrimination complaint. Mercer Development responded with the performance reports, meeting notes, and an email supposedly sent from my account. The email read, if Grant removes me from Lakeshore Crown, I will make sure the investors understand the risks they are taking. I had never written it, but the message had been sent from my company address at 11:18 p.m. on the night before my termination. My attorney explained the problem. They control the email server. They'll say you sent it from home. I didn't. Can you prove that I had been asleep in my apartment? Alone? No camera, no witness, no independent login record I could access. Mercer's attorneys delayed every request. They challenged every filing. They demanded my medical records and accused me of using my pregnancy as protection from legitimate criticism. By the time I was 7 months pregnant, my savings were nearly gone. I withdrew the complaint. My daughter Lily was born in November. For the next 6 years, I rebuilt my career through small projects no one at Mercer Development cared about. I inspected warehouse roofs, aging parking structures, and apartment balconies. I reviewed renovation plans for schools and community centers. The work wasn't glamorous, but every drawing I sealed had passed through my hands. Every calculation carried my responsibility. Eventually, I opened Lawson Structural Consulting and hired a junior engineer named Jenna Brooks. By the time Lily started kindergarten, I had 5 regular clients and enough stability to stop waking up afraid that Grant Mercer could still ruin me. Then, on a Monday morning in March, a certified letter arrived from the State Board of Professional Engineers. The first paragraph said the board had opened an investigation into structural deficiencies at the Lakeshore Crown parking complex. The final certification bore my professional seal. I called the investigator immediately. This is Emma Lawson. I received your letter. Thank you for responding, Miss Lawson. We need to schedule a formal interview. I never worked on the final Lakeshore Crown design. There was a pause. Your seal appears on 23 project documents. That's impossible. I was terminated before the final structural package. We also found your license number attached to additional Mercer development projects. How many? 47 contracts in total. My fingers tightened around the phone. What kind of projects? Residential towers, 2 schools, a medical office complex, several parking structures, and a convention center expansion. I haven't worked for Mercer Development in 6 years. The documents state that you continued working as an independent engineering consultant. I never signed a consulting agreement. We have one carrying your signature. The investigator sent me a redacted copy. The agreement said I had accepted a confidential consulting position 3 months after my termination. My signature appeared at the bottom. It looked convincing. But I noticed 2 things immediately. The date format was wrong. I always wrote the month in letters on legal documents to avoid confusion. And beside the signature was an image of my professional seal, the exact seal template that had been stored on my confiscated company laptop. I called Maya Chen, a former Mercer engineer who now reviewed structural plans for the city. Maya, did you know my seal was on Lakeshore Crown? She went silent. Maya, I assumed you were consulting. You never called me. Vanessa said your agreement prohibited direct communication. Is the building unsafe? I can't discuss an open inspection. Is it unsafe? She lowered her voice. There are diagonal cracks near 2 transfer beams in the parking structure. Temporary supports were installed last week. What caused them? We don't know yet. Were there design changes? Emma, you need an attorney. That means yes. She sighed. The original design called for heavier reinforcement. Mercer submitted a revised package that reduced steel quantities and increased the specified concrete strength. Were the concrete batches tested? One early test failed. My stomach dropped. What happened to the report? The final file classifies it as a sampling error. Who signed the revised package? You did. The next morning, I walked into Mercer Development's headquarters. Vanessa intercepted me in the lobby. She looked almost unchanged. Perfect suit, calm smile, no wasted movement. Emma, you should have called. You used my professional seal. Several employees looked toward us. Vanessa lowered her voice. This is not an appropriate place for accusations. Then take me to Grant. He's unavailable. I'll wait. The elevator opened. Grant stepped out with Ethan and 2 investors. He saw me and immediately understood why I was there. Emma, he said, this is a surprise. 47 contracts. One investor looked at him. Grant remained composed. You'll need to be more specific. My license number, my seal, my forged signature. Vanessa stepped closer. You continued consulting for the company after your departure. No, I didn't. We have an executed agreement. You have a fake agreement. Grant's expression hardened. I would advise you not to make defamatory statements in front of our partners. And I would advise you not to put my name on failing buildings. He smiled slightly. You always did enjoy dramatic language. Release the original design files. You're not entitled to confidential company records. I am when you used my identity to certify them. Grant glanced toward security. You're emotional, Emma. It was the same tactic they had used 6 years earlier. Only now I recognized it before it could work. I took a certified notice from my bag and handed it to Vanessa. I have formally denied authorizing every document sealed under my name after my termination date. Copies have gone to the licensing board, your insurer, and the city. Vanessa's face changed. Not much, but enough. You contacted our insurance carrier? Yes. Grant stepped toward me. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done. I've made sure you can't quietly blame me if that building fails. By that afternoon, Mercer Development released a public statement. It described me as a disgruntled former employee attempting to exploit a routine maintenance issue. Vanessa also gave a business reporter copies of my old discrimination complaint. The headline appeared the next morning. Former Mercer engineer revives 6-year dispute during major investment round. Online comments accused me of chasing money. One person wrote that pregnant employees often use discrimination claims to avoid accountability. Another said I was trying to destroy hundreds of jobs because I had failed to become an executive. Then the licensing board temporarily restricted my ability to seal new structural plans while it investigated. 3 clients suspended their contracts. Jenna stood in my office holding the board notice. What happens now? We keep working on reviews that don't require final certification. That won't cover payroll. I know. Can they actually take your license? If they believe I failed to control my seal, yes. But Mercer stole it. We need evidence stronger than my word. Grant called that evening. I'm offering you a way out, he said. I'm listening. You confirm that you performed limited consulting services. We compensate you for unpaid work and resolve the licensing issue jointly. How much? $300,000. In exchange for admitting the signatures are mine. In exchange for protecting everyone involved. You mean protecting you. I mean protecting employees, subcontractors, and investors who had nothing to do with your personal resentment. There it was. He wasn't defending the documents. He was making me responsible for the damage caused by exposing them. If the buildings are safe, I said, release the calculations. They were reviewed. By which licensed engineer? You. I let the silence remain. Then I said, send your offer in writing. I'm not putting settlement discussions in an email. Then we don't have anything to discuss. I recorded the exact time of the call and wrote down every sentence before I could forget. The following day, I met Daniel Ortiz, a digital forensics specialist recommended by my attorney. He examined the redacted Lakeshore Crown certification. This is not a true digital signature, he said. What is it? A flattened image of your seal and handwritten signature pasted onto the PDF? Can you prove where it came from? Not from this copy. We need the original file metadata, or Mercer's internal server logs. They'll destroy them. Then your attorney needs a preservation order. We filed a civil complaint alleging professional identity theft, forgery, and reputational harm. The court issued an emergency order requiring Mercer Development to preserve all electronic records connected to my name and license. Grant responded the next morning. 2 police detectives arrived at my office. Mercer Development reported unauthorized access to its project management system, one said. I haven't accessed their system since they fired me. They believe someone associated with you downloaded confidential Lakeshore Crown files. Based on what a login connected to your former employee account. My account was disabled 6 years ago. That's part of what we're investigating. As the detective spoke, a courier delivered a padded envelope addressed to me. There was no return address. Inside was a USB drive. I didn't touch it. Please take that, I said. The detectives placed it in an evidence bag. That afternoon, Vanessa told reporters police were investigating the theft of confidential Mercer files. Grant had upgraded his plan. If evidence appeared in my possession, he would claim I had stolen or created it. 2 nights later, Ethan Cole came to my apartment. He stood outside with his coat collar raised against the cold. You shouldn't be here, I said. I know. Did you send the USB number? Do you know who did? He shook his head. Then why did you come? Ethan looked past me at Lily's backpack near the door. Grant says you're trying to destroy the company. I'm trying to determine whether a public building is dangerous. The consultants say the cracks are manageable. Which consultants? He didn't answer. You're the chief operating officer, Ethan. Who approved the reduction in reinforcement? His eyes widened. How do you know about that? I didn't know for certain until now. He turned toward the stairs. Wait, I can't be involved. You already are. He stopped. Did you believe I was consulting? Grant said you were. Did you ever attend a meeting with me? No. Did you ever see a report written by me? Vanessa circulated summaries. Did you ever speak to me about one of the 47 projects? No. Then why did you believe it? Because Grant said your agreement was confidential after the discrimination complaint. I withdrew that complaint before Lily was born. He told the board the case had been privately settled. Grant had built the lie carefully. He had given every employee just enough information to stop them from asking questions. What happened at Lakeshore Crown? I asked. The project was over budget. Grant demanded a value engineering redesign. Removing reinforcement from transfer beams is not value engineering. The concrete strength was supposed to compensate. You said there was a failed test. Ethan looked at me sharply. Who told you that? Where's the original report? I don't know. Vanessa removed it, didn't she? She said the laboratory had contaminated the sample. Did the lab agree? He said nothing. Ethan. He stepped backward. I can't help you. You just did. The USB contained corrupted files and one spreadsheet with my name in the metadata. Daniel examined it and shook his head. It's a trap. Someone wanted this connected to your computer, to make it look like I stole company files, or to introduce malware that would create a false access trail. We still needed independent proof. Maya found it. She called me before sunrise. I located the first archived Lakeshore Crown submission, whose seal was on it. Dr. Leonard Price. I knew the name. He was a respected structural engineer who had retired 5 years earlier. What happened to his certification? He refused to sign the redesign. Do you have the refusal? The letter was removed from the current file, but the city archive kept the original upload. The letter was devastating. Dr. Price had warned that the proposed reduction in reinforcement created an unacceptable risk of progressive cracking and long-term structural failure. 3 days after his refusal, Mercer Development submitted a revised package bearing my seal. The fake consulting agreement was created that same week. Then Daniel found the detail that changed everything. The agreement stated I had electronically signed it at 2:16 a.m. on November 8th, the night Lily was born. Hospital records showed I had entered emergency surgery at 1:51 a.m. and remained under anesthesia until 3:22. Mercer's attorney dismissed it. Ms. Lawson could have authorized someone to apply her signature. Then show the authorization, my attorney said. They couldn't. The court ordered Mercer Development to produce its server logs. The records showed that Vanessa had reactivated my disabled employee account 6 months after I was fired. My old seal image had been retrieved from an archived project folder. 47 documents were then created or modified from computers inside Mercer's executive network. One device appeared more frequently than any other. Grant Mercer's office workstation. 3 days before Mercer Development's annual investor meeting, Grant held a press conference. He claimed the company had discovered that a former employee might have retained access credentials after leaving. He never said my name. He didn't need to. Vanessa stood beside him and wiped away tears. We supported Emma through a difficult personal period, she said. No one imagined that our trust might be used against the company. I watched the video from my office. Jenna looked furious. She's acting like you attacked them. That's the point. What do? We let her finish. The investor meeting took place Friday morning. Security refused to let me enter. You're not on the authorized guest list, the guard said. A woman's voice came from behind me. She is now Nora Bishop, head of the investment group, considering a major capital partnership with Mercer, handed me a visitor badge. I received Dr. Price's letter, she said. You'll have 10 minutes. Inside the conference room, Grant sat at the head of the table. When he saw me, he whispered to Vanessa. Nora opened the meeting. Before any vote, Ms. Lawson will address a potential professional liability issue. Grant stood. This is inappropriate. She is connected to an active criminal investigation. One of the detectives who had taken the USB entered the room. That investigation has been closed, he said. The device was not sent by Ms. Lawson. I connected my laptop to the presentation screen. Grant pointed at me. Any file she presents may have been stolen. The first document comes from the official city archive. Dr. Price's refusal appeared on the screen. The second comes from records Mercer Development was legally ordered to preserve. I displayed the account reactivation log. Vanessa remained calm. Administrative access doesn't prove anyone forged a certification. You're correct, I said. It proves you reopened my account. I displayed the recovered internal email. Vanessa had written, "Price will not sign the redesign. Emma's old seal is still in the archive. Grant wants the package submitted before Monday." Vanessa's voice tightened. That message lacks context. Daniel stood at the back of the room. The complete server header has been authenticated. Grant leaned forward. You have no evidence that I instructed her to use the seal. I played the voicemail he had left after our settlement conversation. You confirm that you performed limited consulting services. We compensate you, resolve the licensing issue, and protect everyone involved. Grant shook his head. That was a privileged settlement discussion. It establishes that you knew the documents required my cooperation to become legitimate. I displayed the failed concrete report, then the reinforcement reduction, then photographs of the cracks. Finally, 47 contracts appeared in chronological order. Every one had been processed through Mercer's executive network. Grant looked around the table. No one was injured. Every project underwent internal review. Internal review by people who were not legally authorized to certify structural designs, I said. The buildings are standing, a voice behind him replied. For now. Ethan entered carrying a thick folder. Grant's face darkened. What are you doing here? Ethan placed the folder in front of Nora. The redesign wasn't about improving efficiency. Grant needed to remove $4.8 million from the Lakeshore Crown budget to preserve the company's profit forecast. You don't understand the financial model, Grant said. I approved the financial model, under my authority. Exactly. Ethan removed a printed message. This was sent to me after Dr. Price refused to sign. Nora read it aloud. Use Lawson's seal. She owes this company for what we did for her. Vanessa immediately stood. Grant told me the consulting agreement had been verbally approved. Grant turned on her. You created the agreement, at your instruction. You controlled legal compliance. You ordered me to make the dates match. They began blaming each other so quickly that neither noticed the state investigators entering the conference room. Grant finally looked at me. His calm expression had disappeared. You're destroying 400 careers because you're still angry about being fired. No, I said. You endangered 400 careers when you decided an employee's professional license belonged to the company. You would have had nothing without Mercer. I earned my degree. I passed the exams. I accepted responsibility for every structure I actually designed. I made your reputation. And then you tried to hide behind it. The investment vote was canceled. The Lakeshore Crown parking structure was closed that afternoon. Emergency reinforcement work began the following week. 4 other projects required immediate repairs, but no occupants were injured. The engineering board cleared my license after confirming I had never signed or authorized the 47 contracts. Grant and Vanessa were indicted on charges involving forgery, insurance fraud, falsification of professional records, and reckless endangerment. Vanessa accepted a plea agreement and testified against Grant. Grant eventually pleaded guilty rather than allow the internal emails to be examined in a public trial. Mercer Development entered court-supervised restructuring. Another construction firm purchased its equipment in active projects. Most employees kept their jobs, though the Mercer name disappeared from every building. Ethan cooperated with investigators and lost his executive position. He later returned to project management at a much smaller company. I didn't take over Mercer Development. I didn't want its offices, its contracts, or Grant's chair. Instead, I expanded Lawson Structural Consulting into a forensic engineering firm. Maya joined me as Director of Code Compliance. Dr. Price came out of retirement as a senior advisor. Daniel became our permanent digital records consultant. Our first major public contract was auditing construction documents for fraudulent seals and certifications. One evening, Lily visited my new office. She found my framed professional license resting on the floor beside my desk. "Is this the license that man stole?" she asked. "He didn't steal the actual license." "Then what did he steal?" "He copied my name and pretended I had agreed with him." She frowned. "But you didn't." "No." "Then why did people believe him?" "Because he was powerful, confident, and spoke first." Lily helped me hang the frame above my desk. "Now everyone will know it's yours," she said. I looked at my name beneath the state seal. For years, I believed Grant Mercer had taken my career when he fired me. He hadn't. He had only forced me to build a career beyond his control. Because powerful people can copy your signature, misuse your name, and rewrite your history. But sooner or later, the truth demands to see the original.